Chico and the Man will not be presented this evening, and the Rockford Files will be seen 1 hour later than normal, so that we may bring you the following special program.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Really happy to welcome Patton Oswaltt back to Word Balloon. It's been a couple of years, but good to see you, Patton. And Jordan Blum. Great to meet you. And guys, congratulations. The Modok Hulu TV series. Shit tons of fun. And I'm glad you guys, and also, by the way, of course, and I've got the cover here. The Modok Head Games book. Where the hell is it? There it is.
Oh, that was a fun one to do.
Yeah. Really loved that. Thanks, man.
But also, you're here today to talk about Marvel Unforgettable Stories, a new hardcover slipcase, beautiful presentation from the Folio Society, and it's celebrating 85 years of Marvel. God, good job of curating some amazing stories, and I'm really glad that beyond the classics, that you're really getting into the modern age as well.
Absolutely. There's been so many, we think, iconic game-changing stories that have come out in the last 10 years that I don't think people are paying enough attention to. So it was really good to get to highlight those.
Yeah, are there, I mean, obviously all of these are your favorites, and I'll want to talk a little bit about a couple of them. But you've got, of course, the classic Spider-Man 33, If This Be My Destiny, such a great Stan Lee title. If This Be My Destiny. Roulette, Daredevil 191. We'll talk about that. Wounded Wolf, Uncanny X-Men 205. Magnetic Repulsion, great Captain America story, 367. Let's see, X-Force 87. Examinations, Wings of Hatred, Untold Tales of Spider-Man from 97. And then here in the 2000s, one of my favorites, Tangled Web. Severance Package, number 4. Oh, it's so great. The Runaways, number 1. And a great part of John Hickman's Fantastic Four run. And Pizza Is My Business, Hawkeye, number 11, the Pizza Dog episode. Fantastic stuff, guys. Really wonderful choices from an art standpoint and a story standpoint.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was, again, we had an embarrassment of riches insofar as what were we going to do here. Our only problem was just getting the list down to 10.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, Jordan, tell me any of these in particular. I mean, obviously all of them are your favorites, and Patton, you as well. But yeah, like any one standout or two standouts in the list?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to find ones that obviously, we started off with that Spider-Man one. You want to see him lift the heavy thing. It's iconic. It's Marvel, right? But then I think we tried to kind of veer off and like, what are slightly standalone or issues that just kind of live in our heads that we can't forget. So I think things like that X Factor one is so personal to me, and such a great example of what Marvel can do, where it's an entire issue of a bunch of mutants in therapy, and there's not a single fight to be had. But Marvel is a character driven publisher. That's, I think, what really put them on the map. So picking things like that, I think, encapsulate the possibilities of what you can do in Marvel, where they can do giant, crossovers and end of the world stories, or it's, Havoc talking about how he's not as good as his brother at leading mutant teams. And I think like that's compelling to me just as much.
I'm curious, both of you are writing these stories now, and we're all around the same age. And, we grew up in that 20-cent era, 25-cent era of single issues and stuff. And listen, great writers. I mean, I have them on all the time. Guys like, Elliot Magan I just had on a month or so ago. And I love their stuff. But isn't it great that the comics grew up with us, and I'd be curious on your thoughts on that.
Well, the comics grew up in a way that a lot of the people that were former fans and continuing fans that became writers, that became artists, because they were fans, started working kind of in self-published indie comics, and then the majors went and found them. People like Bendis, people like Hickman, that they said, "Oh, let's take a chance with these outliers and see what they do with our books." And I think that's what kept Marvel so energized, especially in the early aughts and the teens. I mean, it was fantastic.
I don't know if you guys were lapsed readers. Jordan, were you reading all along, or did you have I had that college no money gap, I don't know about you guys.
I skipped meals so I could go hit the store on Wednesdays. I never stopped.
Yeah.
That's true. Patton, did you ever stop or no?
I stopped a little bit just when I was starting to tour as a comedian because I just had no money and no time. But I mean, the really big stuff that was happening, I always kept up with.
That's cool. That's excellent. Again, I'm really glad you guys are focusing on the 21st century writers, because I don't think listen, I love every documentary and every book that comes back that retells the history of comics. But I feel like, we've gotten it so many times. And Patton, like you said, I mean, my God, the significant writers and artists of the last 25 years, starting with this wave of a lot of the people that you've got representing in there and stuff. You've got Rucka, Severance Package. That's my favorite, I'd have to say, of the guys. I mean, that really made me pay attention to Greg Rucka. Talk about Severance Package for a second from Tangled Web No. 4. I
mean, it's that amazing feeling of something that you see happen in a Spider-Man comic that's hero focused, but then there's an aftermath for the little side villains. And in this case, it's a pretty brutal aftermath, and it makes you think of the bigger connectivity of this world. It just makes the world seem more real, even though there's superpowered beings that can stick to walls. There are still human stories that are happening within it. And it's pretty shocking that made me a Greg Rucka fan as well. I really started following him. I mean, that's another thing too, is some of these things are it's not the reason they're unforgettable is because you're like, who is that writer? I got to read more of what that guy does. So that was really cool that we could do that.
And I feel like that's a story that focuses on, hey, here's the guy who works for King. Everyone has a story in this universe.
Yeah.
If you look at what we focused on in our careers in this stuff, Modok is this villain who never gets his day, and then Minor Threats is all about these people who aren't the main characters, but they are in this story. So for us, I think we love those kind of one-offs where you follow someone who wouldn't be the normal protagonist.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah. I want, before we wrap up, I absolutely want to talk about your Dark Horse series, Minor Threats, that's coming up just a few days away. I know at least that's what Heath Corson was telling me. So
new issue, a new spinoff, The Brood, coming out next Wednesday.
Outstanding, man.
Yeah.
No. Hopefully, if you guys would have time, I'd love to spend another conversation with you talking about Minor Threats.
Oh, would love to come and focus on that.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. On Marvel today.
So that's 100%, man. No, our time is limited. No, that would be great, man. Thank you. Hey, Daredevil 191, part of the Frank Miller run. Man, it's, again, these character moments. Daredevil just messing with Bullseye at his most vulnerable, and a fantastic story.
I feel like for that one, everyone's read the death of Elektra, but I liked the epilogue, which I think is what this is. And that was what we were trying to do, is not like find the most obscure thing we can, but stories that maybe haven't been collected as much, or, oh, if you like this, did you read this after it? Or expose people to stories or runs that they haven't before.
I don't know. Any thoughts on this one in particular, Patton?
Well, it just showed you that even if you're a superhero having big, bright, primary color adventures, there are moments of real darkness. If you're going to face down evil, there's going to be moments that's why I love Daredevil so much, is because he actually wrestles with stuff. I think even more than Spider-Man, even more than the X-Men, because he has it shows you the cost of having a really strong moral compass.
And before we get to another book, isn't it great that there have been so many great writers that have kept that Frank Miller tone, but found new ways to tell the stories? I mean, I really again, 21st Century, Bendis, Brubaker,
Oh, yeah.
Rucka, all these guys, and Zdarsky just wrapped up his great run.
Yes, so good. He's had the most definitive runs of any character, I think. Like, there are stretches of Batman and Spider-Man where you're like, I don't know,
Right.
but Daredevil has had like, you could read this, this is just as good as this, which is just as good as this. Like, it's amazing that one character brings out the best, I think, in a lot of creators, because you can break that toy, right, in a way you can't break Spider-Man.
Right, exactly.
We were talking about the repercussions.
Yeah,
I want to talk about Fantastic Four 587. It was during Jonathan Hickman's run, and it's significant. And I think we can spoil, because I'm interested, guys. Comic book deaths. It's if we're grizzled veterans, some roll their eyes, and he's dead, fine, whatever. But what I love is, and truly, this story, the death of Johnny Storm in this run, not only this actual incident, but for me, it was successive issues, and it maybe wouldn't make sense in this folio to do the aftermath. Mm-hmm. But oh my God, like when Spider-Man is sitting on the ledge with Franklin, and he's like, an uncle of mine died too. And it's like, oh my God, or when the Thing has Thor, Hulk, and Hercules beat him up to get over the aggression. But tell me about comic book deaths and this story in particular with Hickman.
Well, I mean, death has kind of been ruined in comics. I still have yet to see. It would be so amazing and so ballsy again, I know it's IP and you've got other people you got to answer to, but it would be really cool to have a iconic superhero death. And not only do they stay dead, we see the effect that death has on other characters. That character can still be around in death because of how he or she's death affects people. But that said, this is a heroic death that I think Jordan can speak even deeper to this, because this really hit him hard.
Yeah, I think we talked about why this should go in, is that the Fantastic Four have been around since the beginning of the Marvel Universe. They've had a million stories. Like you said, there's been a million deaths. And when you execute something well, like Hickman and Steve Epting do in this one, it's just as effective. All of that washes away and you're in the moment in the story. And I was like tearing up, and I'm like, I know how comics work. He's going to be back, but it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, like, you can always tell new stories and always create new moments with old characters and concepts and spin them in new ways. And I thought this was a great example of, like, making it work.
I'm with you. I again, one of my favorite runs, and luckily we did see the aftermath. I mean, that's the thing, Patton. At least the deaths will last like 6 months to a year, so we do get a little fallout.
A little bit, yeah.
We
gotta bring them back.
Outstanding, man. Hawkeye, Pizza Dog, Fraction and Aja on that book, and it was great because the way I'm conflating Hawkeye with Iron Fist. I was going to say, but their run on Iron Fist certainly. Oh my God, that was amazing! And then they go in this completely radical, independent toned direction for Hawkeye, and it's the best Clint Barton miniseries in existence. Thoughts, boys?
Yeah. I mean, it really affected the portrayal of that character in a way that I wish it had leaked over into the movies and TV show more, to kind of see him not in his costume but still, I don't know. There's too much to say about that. I just loved and also Aja is such an amazing artist. And I know a lot of people are going, oh, this is just Dave Mazzucchelli methadone. I'm like, I'll take it, because I miss Mazzucchelli, man. I loved that series. Loved it.
Yeah. We picked that issue, I think, in particular because it's one of those things you can only do in comics. It pushes the medium. It's so graphic and unique in its storytelling, and I think that's what excites us. Is those things you can only do in comics. Someone trying something new and experimental, and I think that there's room for that in the Marvel Universe is really interesting, and I think it was done so well in that title.
Tell me about the Head Games miniseries. Again, I think it turned out fantastic, but compared to writing which came first, guys? The Hulu cartoon, or I assume they were both with the idea of a companion piece in mind for both.
No, the cartoon came first, and then we just pitched the idea to Marvel, and they loved it. So we kind of ran with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
people
great.
are always like, "How do you break into comics?" I'm like, well, we went a really weird way. Created a show so we could become comic writers. But yeah, it was. I think it was also us going. Well, we got to reinterpret Modok for a sitcom, for a comedy, but we want to go back and write 616 Marvel Universe Modok.
Sure.
And not just do our show, but do the one that has all this history.
Oh yeah,
continuity with these characters, and kind of try and tell our definitive Modok action book.
I think he succeeded. A great looking book, and I mean, your artist was excellent on it. And no, it was, but it's still, and it retained the flavor of the Hulu thing. But again, it was, all right. This is him when he's at his day job, when he's being serious at AIM.
The artist was Scott Hepburn, who then we have since created Minor Threats with. It was like, let's never stop working with this guy ever.
That's excellent. No, I'm psyched to in a future conversation talk to you guys about Minor Threats. That's really exciting. Are there more animation Marvel? I mean, well, Patton, you've been doing. Haven't you been involved with What If?
Nope.
Oh, excuse me. All right, man. Your filmography is so vast and stuff. I kind of assumed, and of course, you were part of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was fantastic. How was that experience being on S.H.I.E.L.D.?
It was really fun. I mean, it was really good.
Were you a S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I thought we were talking about the Folio Society book.
We can, but I figured I'd ask because of other Marvel related things. But certainly,
fun.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a part of like our careers, our lives, and I think that's what is so cool, is to like, it led us to TV shows and this and that, but like to go back and be like, what are those touchstones,
We're
like, this is going to affect everything I do for the rest of my life. Let's go back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
I'll throw it back to the book here again. Beautiful slipcover, fantastic presentation. And are people able to get it autographed by you guys? Is that a perk?
Is that a limited amount? And then if we're at a signing or convention, bring it to us. We'll happily sign it.
We'll absolutely sign it if you bring it. But there was a limited run. I believe there's like 100 that we signed with book plates.
Yeah, excellent. And I'm assuming kind of like this is the anniversary of the origins of Marvel Comics. Fireside Books. That's the series started and everything. And this is kind of your guys' spin on a similar presentation. Do you I mean, so are there essays before each story in terms of this is like boy, good for Hanukkah season. Why is this Marvel folio more important than other Marvel folios?
There's a long intro where I go through like why we picked what we picked and what's special about these stories. There's not an intro to each one. It's like at the beginning you can if you want to, you can skip that intro, go right to the story.
Yeah. And what's been really cool is, it invites people immediately going like, why didn't you pick this or why didn't you pick that? And I think and Patton, I feel like, engages with that in the forward, and then but it is so fun to have those conversations, right? Like someone was like, oh, you guys didn't put enough or any Bronze Age in, and it made me go like, well, what are my favorite Bronze Age? And now I want to go back and read those, and like clearly I have my own holes and blind spots, so it's kind of fun to just everyone wants to kind of add in theirs, and we were able to do ours.
Well, again, a wonderful celebration of 85 years of Marvel history, and not only focusing on some great moments from the Silver and Bronze Age, but some great modern stories to remind everyone as well. It's Marvel's Unforgettable Stories from the Folio Society. It's available now to order, and you should absolutely do it. They're great stories, curated by Jordan Blum and Patton Oswaltt. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys, and if you don't mind, hang on 1 second because I wanted to ask you a question off the air, but we will close out. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Stay safe, stay happy. I gotta find my clothes. Where's my closure? Oh, come on, John. Where's your video? There it is. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.